And we are back with another signing for the Vandals. This time it is offensive lineman James Cobb out of Phoenix, Arizona via Desert Mountain High School. He's listed at 6'5", 275 pounds. And Patrick, what are your thoughts on James?
Yeah. To me,
Fuck me.
James looks to be the most polished all-around lineman coming in as a freshman right now. He's coming in 6'4", 275, or 6'5", 275, I believe he's listed. He's got good size, great size. I think he's going to be the most plug-and-play you can put him probably at any spot on the offensive line, and he will succeed there as a freshman. He looks like the most polished pass blocker coming out of high school for sure of the class to me. But he's also really good. He's a really good running blocker too. One thing to note that I really liked about his film is he's able to consistently get back into his pass set out of a three-point stance. And sometimes that's tough for guys that come from a high school where they play that 2-point stance, like stand-up left tackle that drops back into a pass set every other play. It's kind of tough for guys like that to adjust to dropping into a pass set out of a three-point stance. And I think a lot of the time, Idaho likes to put their tackles in a three-point stance a lot more than most modern-age teams do, just because we like to run the ball a lot. So, knowing that he's able to drop into that pass set out of the three-point stance is great. He also, he makes a lot of impact blocks that are just, savvy, has great vision, and he sees those, oh, there's a delay blitz coming, I'm going to, stop helping the guy next to me and go knock the delay blitz guy, or, a stunt and stuff like that. And those are things that Idaho struggled with last year. That happened. That's what happened on the fumble in the Montana game at the end. That's what happened a lot against Southern Illinois. It's a lot of those stunts and stuff that we struggle with versus the 3-3-5, where they have delayed blitzes and all the stunts and all the exotic pressures that we really had problems with. We didn't have as many problems with the straight up, 4-2-5 defenses. So, I mean, he's pass blocking wise, I love that he could stay in front of a speed rusher, but he can also hold up to a bull rush as well. And I like that he's mobile enough, athletic enough to go get out and get on smaller defenders in the run game as well. He's used to pull a decent amount in high school, and he looked really solid there. But I think where he really excelled, where some of these other recruits maybe didn't look as polished, like I said, was in that pass game. One of the more fun things to watch to me as an O-line nerd is the way he uses his chop block, not like a cut block, but his chop, where a bull rusher comes and just tries to bench press their way onto his chest. He'll just knock their hands down and put them in the dust. And he does that all the time on his highlight tape. And it's something that I think he'll be able to do in college with some of those guys that try to bull rush you and play the run. I think he's going to be able to knock some of those dudes on the ground as a true freshman. And it's just always fun to see, a freshman put someone on the ground like
that. Yes, it is, Patrick. For me, I am just excited. It's another offensive lineman that has the height that you want with coming into play college, kind of playing more college on, kind of up there with it. He's just another up there with Nathan Knappich and Ryan Kowalik as well. As far as the size goes, I'm just to me, I'm just excited to have another guy that could pretend another great guy to have on the offensive line, whether that be at right tackle, left tackle, center, or either of the guard positions. It's an exciting time to be a Vandal, and the quality of offensive line Idaho is getting is improved dramatically over past years, I think.
100%. Yep. And I don't know, if y'all have noticed, we've said, hey, he could compete for starting time a lot this class. And it's not just because we're excited. These dudes legit could be competing for starting time. This class is loaded, guys. The offensive line, that that's how you build great offensive lines. Is you have a bunch of studs in there that can rotate with each other and end up competing with each other for the job. Um, and the other thing with that is like on the offensive line, injuries happen. We saw that firsthand in 2023. Having capable backups is going to be huge for Idaho, especially there's potential again to have what 3 sophomores and 2 freshmen on the line next year. Like I think there's only going to be one upperclassman as of now on the line. Like it's going to be another young group, and injuries are going to happen. So it's great to have these freshmen that, hey, maybe they're not quite there with the size, but they have the skills and the potential to be a starter. For me, I think Knappich is a guy that could start right away. I also think James Cobb is a guy that could start right away. I think James Cobb is probably the more plug and play. You can plug him into any position and he'll succeed. So I am so beyond impressed with the O-line class myself.
Patrick, I think you might have answered just my I think you might have answered just my question along kind of this is thinking bigger picture here with like being that it looks like kind of where we're at with recording. This might probably be the last offensive lineman we're probably gonna have signed for this for the December signing period. Is there kind of like as a whole compared to first and second years as far as like signing like offensive lineman goes, like what are your thoughts of like as far as like the quality and like the direction Eck is trying to take this offensive line?
It definitely feels like we're going the right direction and it's building to be something elite. Like the way that this is being built reminds me so much of how South Dakota State built, the 605 Hogs that are by far the best offensive line probably we've ever seen at the FCS level. Like they got 2 to 3 guys that could be playing on Sundays next year on their line this year, and they're playing for a championship. The best teams in the country have the best offensive lines. That's how North Dakota State built their dynasty. That's how South Dakota State's building theirs right now. So the line is so critical, and I know people will just say that, but they don't actually like think about how it's built. Like this is how it's built. It's athletes with frames, and you can develop them in house. And then if they're a sophomore, they've been on campus for 3 years. They're a sophomore or a junior, and now they're getting their playing time and starting. I don't know. I think O-line's a spot where the transfer portal sometimes doesn't hammer teams quite as bad as some of the skill jobs. That is something I've personally noticed. But no, I just love that the team really feels like it's being built around the offensive line and being supplemented by some elite skill guys. And don't get me wrong, the skill guys are studs in this class too. Like some of these guys, I am so juiced for skill position wise also. But just the way that the line is being built makes me extremely excited for the potential of Vandal football. I think the ceiling is being raised every year to, this team in, next year, 2 years, 3 years has national championship potential.
And if so far, like as I should probably say this. As always, Tubbs Club is brought to you by Hughes River Expedition and Snake River Stampede Whiskey. And if Bryan Marceau was here, I'm going to almost guarantee you'd probably ask this question. Is this offensive line I forget what the question was about. I'd say this probably is a small batch SRS 1915 Snake River Stampede Whiskey, just as far as like it's up there with, I think, one of the better ones they've had in a while. And I am just I hate repeating myself and repeating like the same words that Patrick has, but I am just excited for what this kind of potential this class has to be for Idaho on as far as offensive line goes.
In this class, I see 3 to 4 dudes that have upside of an all-conference type players. At least film-wise, when you go back and this is something I did in preparation for this, is I went back and looked at some of the old, recruits that were good players back in the day. I went back and I kind of looked at some of their film and kind of compared what I see with this class versus what I see with that class, just to get a baseline type thing. And like this class just blew my mind compared to some of the old classes. Like some of those guys that were all conference like stud offensive linemen just don't look to be on the same level as some of the guys on this class in this class, to me at least. And I'm just so excited. But I think with that being said,
Is anything else you got? Anything else you have to say about James Cobb before we move on to our last couple of signings we have so far for this class? Or
no, I think he's going to be one of those plug and play guys that can play early. That's what I think.
Awesome. And with that, we are going to be moving on to our final couple of signings. It looks like for this class, and as always, go Vandals.